In this video, we'll be going over the credit limit worksheet, which you'll find in the instructions for line 15 of IRS Form 8839, Qualified Adoption Expenses. So if you're aware of the tax credit for qualified adoption expenses, you'll know that it's a non-refundable tax credit, which means that it can reduce your tax bill dollar for dollar, but only to the point that it reaches zero. The other thing that most taxpayers probably are not aware of is that there's an order of precedence for certain tax credits. And so in order to make sure we understand the amount of adoption related tax credit we can take in a year, we have to be able to figure out all of the other tax credits that may take precedence. And then in this case, with an adoption tax credit, any tax credit that is not allowed in the current year can be carried forward to reduce taxes in a future tax year. So this is a five-step process. There are a lot of forms that we're going to cite in this video and a couple of other videos. I'm going to put in the show notes links to articles and videos about all of the forms and schedules mentioned here. So but what we're going to do is we're going to explain where each of these numbers come from in your tax return so that you know where to look for it. So let's start with line 1. This is the amount from line 14 on your Form 8839. This is the amount of adoption tax credit that you've calculated to this point. So at this point, this is the maximum amount of adoption tax credit that you can claim based on the qualified expenses that you incurred. So this is the most that we would be able to consider taking in the current year. And now we have to see whether or not other tax credits take precedence, which would force the adoption credit to some or all of it to be pushed into a future tax year. So we start with $10,000 of available adoption tax credit. We're going to, in line 2, enter the tax liability number from Form 1040, 1040-SR, or 1040-NR, line 18. So this isn't the total tax. And the total tax basically is a lot of other taxes such as self-employment, things of that nature. What this is the tax liability that was calculated in the tax tables plus two taxes that come from Schedule 2. So Schedule 2 is the additional taxes schedule, and the two taxes that will add to that are from IRS Form 6251, that's the alternative minimum tax, and the excess premium tax credit from IRS Form 8962. So again, line 2, the line 18 from your Form 1040, that's going to be your tax liability is calculated from the tables plus your alternative minimum tax and excess premium tax credit. So let's say for this year that number is $15,000. In step 3, we're now going to calculate all of the tax credits that take precedence over the adoption credit. So for line 1040 or 1040-SR filers, all of those tax credits consist of the following. Line 19 of your Form 1040 or 1040-SR, that is the child tax credit or the tax credit or for other dependents care credit. So that would be calculated on Schedule 8812. And then we've got a lot of tax credits from Schedule 3 because that's where your tax credits are calculated to. So lines 1 through 4, 6D, 6F, 6G, 6L, and 6M. So what those are in order, the line 1 is the foreign tax credit calculated on IRS Form 1116. Line 2 is the child and dependent care expenses credit calculated on IRS Form 2441. Line 3 is the education credits, both the American Opportunity Tax Credit and the Lifetime Learning Credit, calculated on IRS Form 8863. Line 4 is the Retirement Savings Credit, calculated on IRS Form 8880. Line 6D is the credit for elderly or disabled taxpayers. That's on Schedule R. 6F is the clean vehicle credit on IRS Form 8936. Line 6G is the mortgage interest credit from IRS Form 8396. Line 6L comes from IRS Form 8978, line 14. That's a partner's additional tax credit, I believe. Line 6M is the tax credit for previously owned clean vehicles from IRS Form 8936 again. And then this last one, the IRS Form 5695, line 32, that's the energy efficient home improvement credit. So all of those kind of push down the priority of the adoption tax credit. In other words, if this were zero, then you would go through this and you would be able to take the full tax credit for the adoption expenses. But each of these other tax credits takes priority, and so they push that further down. And if you run out of tax liability up here that you can cancel out with your tax credit, if that reduces your tax bill to zero, then you're going to have to take the adoption credit in a future year. So for line 1040 NR filers, all of those tax credits are the same except for you don't have a line 3 because Form 1040 NR filers are not eligible for education credits, and you don't have line 6D because Form 1040 NR filers are also not eligible for the credit for elderly or disabled taxpayers. So other than that, those remain the same. So in this situation, let's just assume that we had $8,000 of total tax credits that we're going to put in line 3. That means all of these tax credits added up to $8,000. So we're simply going to subtract that, and now we have $7,000 of tax liability left over. So we enter the smaller of line 1 or line 1 or line 4 here, which is the $7,000. Which means when we go to complete our tax return, we should expect that $7,000 of our adoption expenses will be taken as a credit this year, and then the rest of them will be in we'll have to put them in a adoption tax credit carry forward status. So there is one note down here. So the line 19, if you're completing Schedule 8812 and you're required to use the credit limit worksheet B in those instructions, then you would follow these steps right here. You would use the line 14 from the credit limit worksheet B instead of that Form 1040 line 19 number. So that probably applies to a very small number of taxpayers, but that is what that asterisk is for. So that's all we have for this worksheet. As I mentioned, we'll put this link in the show notes, or we'll put links to all of the different resources we've created for these forms and schedules in the show notes. So if there's a particular item that you're looking a little bit more closely at, you can go right to that. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, or if there's another topic that you'd like to see in an upcoming video, please hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much and have a great day.